So, they finally understand. Look who they can't ignore anymore. Welcome back, you absolute phenomenon they never saw coming. They've been studying you, haven't they? Monitoring your every step, like you're some kind of forbidden research project. And recently, the questions got intense. They're certain someone's been training you, molding you, equipping you with capabilities that don't align with your past. They witness the way you operate now, deliberate, exact, unaffected, and they recognize something transformed. They recognize you didn't just evolve naturally. Before we go further, if this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling me what shifted in your life. This community is growing, and you're part of something they'll never comprehend. Now let's continue. They're correct to question it because yes, you've been receiving instruction. You've been absorbing wisdom, frameworks, reflexes, instincts that don't originate from conventional learning or counseling or inspirational content. But here's the element that'll make them uncomfortable. It isn't human. Whatever's been directing you, sculpting you, communicating instructions in the quiet spaces between your consciousness, it didn't originate from this plane of existence. And now they sense it. They sense the transformation in your vibration, the evolution in your perception, the way you detect deception before the words finish forming. They assumed you were just recovering. No, you were being reconstructed by something that doesn't operate within earthly limitations. They began recognizing it some time ago, didn't they? The way you stopped responding to their provocations, the way you eliminated people without remorse, without justification, like you were executing commands from something they couldn't perceive. And that's precisely what terrifies them, because they understand manipulation, they understand psychology, they understand how to dominate people using fear, obligation, embarrassment, affection. But you became resistant instantly. You generated immunity to every strategy they deployed. How? That's what disturbs their sleep. How did someone who used to retreat suddenly become invincible? How did someone who used to justify themselves constantly suddenly operate in silence like a trained operative? They examine your digital presence for evidence. They study your expressions in interactions. They dissect your language, searching for the origin, the instructor, the master. But they'll never locate it because it's not a person. It's not a coach you can research. It's not some program you can investigate. It's something ancient. Something that doesn't have a designation in their understanding. You sense it too, don't you? That force, that certainty, that intelligence that doesn't communicate in language, but in absolute knowing. It manifests when you require it most. Right before you're about to falter, right before you're about to regress into previous behaviors, something intercepts you. Something stabilizes your course. Something reinforces who you're evolving into. And it's not compassionate. It's not tender. It doesn't pamper you or promise everything will work out. It commands you to act. It commands you to sever. It commands you to incinerate what needs destruction and advance without hesitation. That's not therapy. That's not recovery in the way they present it. That's preparation. That's combat. That's an intelligence functioning through you that's preparing you for something they'll never comprehend. The most remarkable part, you didn't request it. You didn't invoke it. It selected you. When you reached absolute bottom, when you were shattered, invisible, eliminated from their reality, something observed you. Something penetrated through the darkness and declared, this one can withstand what's approaching. Now they watch you navigate existence like you're following a blueprint they can't obtain, like you possess knowledge they lack, and they're correct. You do. You understand the system is manipulated. You understand their expressions are artificial. You understand precisely when someone's deceiving. Not because you analyze behavioral patterns, but because something within you interprets vibration. You've been enhanced. Your intuition isn't intuition anymore. It's precision. It's surgical. It's functioning at a dimension that makes experts look like amateurs playing pretend. They want to discover who's training you so they can either access the method or eliminate it. But there's no method. There's no institution. There's no formula. There's just you and whatever force determined you were worth saving. And now they're trapped, observing someone they assumed they knew become completely foreign. They're observing someone they assumed they destroyed become indestructible. They're observing someone they assumed they erased return more powerful, more precise, more detached, more formidable than anything they've previously faced. And beneath all their inquiries and hypotheses, they recognize the reality. Whatever's directing you, it isn't human, and it absolutely isn't supporting their agenda. Let's discuss what actually occurred, because they're close, but they're still speculating. You didn't locate a mentor. You became a channel. Somewhere in the ruins of your former existence, in the stillness after everyone departed you, in the hours you spent contemplating ceilings, questioning if you'd endure, something connected to your wavelength. Not because you were exceptional, not because you were selected in some universal drawing, but because you were vacant, you were hollowed. You were a clean canvas after the destruction consumed you, and that made you the ideal container. See, most people are too saturated with viewpoints, too saturated with programming, too saturated with interference. But you lost everything. Your identity fractured. Your convictions dissolved. Your faith vanished. And in that void, something else entered. Not possessing you, collaborating with you, instructing you without speech, revealing to you without vision. You began knowing things you never acquired. You began recognizing configurations you never examined. You began executing actions that didn't originate from reasoning. It began subtle, didn't it? A thought that didn't seem like yours. An impulse to exit a situation right before conflict emerged. A sudden lucidity about someone's intentions that validated itself eventually. You dismissed it as chance initially, but then it continued occurring repeatedly until you couldn't reject it anymore. Something was transmitting you intelligence. Something was directing your movements. Something was shielding you from errors you would have committed previously. And the more you heeded, the more powerful it became. The more you relied on it, the more transparent it became. Now it's not even a voice anymore. It's instinct. It's reflex. It's mechanical. You don't contemplate how to counter manipulation anymore. Your body just reacts. Your words just emerge. Your legs just carry you away, like you're being operated by something that perceives the future. They observe it in your synchronization, the way you materialize exactly when required, the way you vanish exactly when appropriate, the way you articulate exactly what needs expression without preparation. They label it confidence, they label it development, they label it therapy finally succeeding. No, this is something else completely. Here's what they don't grasp. This force, this intelligence, this presence, it didn't arrive to make you content. It didn't arrive to heal you in some gentle, tranquil manner. It arrived to make you efficient. It arrived to transform you into an instrument, not against others, but against everything that attempted to keep you limited. Every restricting belief you ever possessed, identified, and eliminated. Every anxiety that restrained you, analyzed, and neutralized. Every person who exploited you, revealed and extracted from your environment. This wasn't healing. This was an enhancement. a system upgrade for your awareness. And now you're operating on a platform they don't have access to. They're still functioning on fear, on ego, on obsolete programming. You're functioning on something that perceives 10 steps ahead. They react. You respond. They panic. You observe. They pursue. You attract. The distance between you and them isn't just growth, it's evolution, and they experience it every time they're around you. That strange unease they can't articulate, that sensation like you're seeing through them instead of at them, that sense that you possess more knowledge than you're revealing. The training you're receiving, it doesn't arrive through words. It arrives through silence, through visions that seem more authentic than waking reality, through sudden understandings that arrive completely formed, through synchronicities that stop seeming like coincidence and start seeming like correspondence. You'll contemplate someone and they'll contact you. You'll sense like you should avoid a location and later discover something dangerous occurred there. You'll receive an urge to initiate something and it'll create opportunities you never anticipated. This isn't fortune. This isn't manifestation. This is direction from something that exists beyond time. Something that can perceive the network of cause and consequence in ways your human mind can't process. So it provides you breadcrumbs, nudges, impulses, and if you pursue them, if you trust them, your existence begins flowing in ways that appear like magic to everyone else. But to you, it just feels like finally being in harmony with something authentic. Finally being connected to something that doesn't deceive. Finally having a coach that doesn't have an ulterior motive, doesn't desire your resources. It just desires you to succeed. It just desires you to become what you were always meant to be before the world interfered with you. Now, let's examine the preparation itself, because this isn't some gentle spiritual emergence. This is intensive training. This is trial by devastation. This is the kind of preparation that breaks most people before they even comprehend what's occurring, because whatever's coaching you, it doesn't prioritize your comfort. It prioritizes your capability. Every betrayal you survived, that was an examination. Every loss that devastated you, that was conditioning. Every moment you desired to surrender but didn't, that was you advancing to the next stage. They assumed you were suffering. You were being forged. They assumed you were lost. You were being refined. They assumed you were broken. You were being emptied of everything weak. And now observe you. Unshakable, immovable, unbothered by the chaos that sends others spiraling. That's not therapy. That's not time healing wounds. That's the result of being trained by something that knows exactly how much pressure you can tolerate before you transform into something unbreakable. The lessons arrived rapidly, didn't they? You acquired the ability to identify liars within moments. You acquired the ability to sense energy transitions before words were vocalized. You discovered how to depart without closure because you realized closure is a trap. You discovered that silence is more commanding than explanation. You discovered that your absence instructs more than your presence ever could. You discovered that people fear what they can't dominate, and you became uncontrollable. Not reckless, not chaotic, but sovereign, self-directed, operating under principles they don't recognize. And every time you applied these lessons, every time you moved according to this new intelligence, your existence improved. Toxic people disappeared without you confronting them. Opportunities materialized without you chasing them. Clarity arrived without you pursuing it, because you stopped existing by human regulations and started existing by something deeper, something primordial, something that's been here long before civilization attempted to domesticate it. Your ancestors knew this force. They called it different designations: instinct, spirit, the knowing. But modern society trained it out of people, replaced it with compliance, with following authority, with trusting systems over self. You retrieved it. The preparation never ceases, though. Even now, even as you absorb this, you're being examined. Every conversation is an examination. Every decision is an examination. Every moment you experience the pull to return to previous patterns, that's an examination. And you pass them now, not perfectly, but consistently, because you're not alone in this. Something's observing, something's directing, something's course correcting you when you drift. They observe it in how you recover, how you used to spiral for weeks after a setback, and now you reset in hours. How you used to require validation from others, and now you barely notice if it's there or not. How you used to fear being alone, and now you protect your solitude like it's sacred. That shift didn't occur because you read the correct book. It occurred because you were being reprogrammed at a dimension most people never access. Your subconscious was being rewritten. Your belief systems were being overridden. Your default settings were being replaced with something that actually serves you instead of keeping you trapped. And here's what really makes them anxious. You're getting stronger. Every month, every week, sometimes every day, you advance in ways they can't monitor. They knew you last year and you're unrecognizable now. They knew you last month and even that version is gone. You're shedding layers faster than they can track because the coaching you're receiving, it's accelerated. It's compressed. What would take most people decades to acquire, you're downloading in months. Not because you're superior, not because you're exceptional, but because something determined you don't have decades. Something determined you're needed now. Whatever's approaching, whatever you're being prepared for, it requires you to be ready soon. So the training intensified, the lessons got harder, the examinations got more brutal, and you passed them. You kept passing them. Even when you didn't think you could, even when you wanted to quit, something inside you wouldn't permit you. Something kept propelling you forward. And now you're here, standing in a version of yourself they can't explain, operating at a frequency they can't reach, moving with a certainty they can't replicate. They're starting to comprehend it now, piece by piece. Not the complete reality. They're not ready for that. But they're getting closer. They notice you don't argue anymore. You don't defend. You don't explain. You just acknowledge and move like you know something they don't. And that acknowledgement, that unbothered energy, it drives them insane because they're accustomed to getting reactions. They're accustomed to pushing triggers and watching people explode. But you're trigger-proof now. Every manipulation tactic they attempt just slides off you like water off stone. They accuse you of changing. You agree and keep moving. They try to guilt you. You feel nothing. They attempt to gaslight you. You see right through it. It's like you've developed immunity to human nonsense. And in a way you have, because whatever's training you showed you the game, showed you the patterns, showed you that most human interaction is just fear wearing different masks. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand the mechanics of manipulation, you become immune to it. Not because you're cold, but because you're awake. The recognition happens in stages. First, they notice you're different. Then, they notice you're untouchable. Then, they start wondering who influenced you, who transformed you, who's controlling your strings. Because in their minds, transformation like yours doesn't happen organically. It requires intervention. And they're right. But they'll never guess the source. They'll assume it's a person, a mentor, a partner, a counselor, a teacher you discovered online. They'll investigate your circle looking for the puppet master. But your circle is empty. You barely communicate with anyone anymore. You're more isolated than you've ever been, and yet you're flourishing. That doesn't compute in their reality. In their world, you need people. You need support systems. You need validation and advice and guidance from other humans. But you don't. Not anymore, because you found something superior, something that doesn't lie, something that doesn't have ulterior motives, something that wants you to succeed without taking anything from you in return. Some of them, the ones who are slightly more aware, they start using different language. They stop asking who's coaching you and start asking what's different about your energy. They feel it, but they can't name it. They sense a presence around you that wasn't there before. Some call it confidence, others call it intensity. The spiritual ones might call it awakening, but none of them have the right word, because the right word doesn't exist in their vocabulary. What you're carrying now, it's not something that fits into neat categories. It's not light or dark. It's not good or evil. It's power. Raw, unfiltered, uncorrupted power. The kind that doesn't need permission. The kind that doesn't apologize. The kind that simply is. And power like that makes people nervous, especially people who built their identity on controlling others. They look at you and realize their tools don't work anymore. Their tactics fail. Their schemes collapse. Not because you're fighting them, but because you're impervious to them. Here's what they'll never understand. This wasn't a choice you made. You didn't decide one day to become untouchable. You didn't wake up and choose to be this way. It chose you. When you were at your lowest, when you had nothing left, when you were ready to disappear, something intervened. Something saw potential in your wreckage. Something recognized that your emptiness could be filled with strength instead of despair. So it moved in slowly at first, gently, even. But once you started listening, once you started trusting, it intensified, it accelerated. It took over parts of your decision-making process, not controlling you, guiding you like a navigator that knows the terrain better than you do. And now you're so synchronized with it that you can't tell where you end and it begins. Your thoughts feel like your thoughts. Your instincts feel like your instincts. But they're sharper now, faster, more accurate. Because they're not just yours anymore. They're coming from something that sees more than you see, knows more than you know, and wants you to become more than you ever imagined possible. The hardest part about this transformation, the part nobody warns you about, is the isolation that comes with it. Because once you start operating on this new frequency, once you start receiving guidance from something beyond human comprehension, you stop fitting in anywhere. The people who knew you before, they can't relate to you anymore. The conversations that used to matter feel hollow now. The drama that used to consume you looks like child's play. You're not better than them. You're just different now. You're playing a different game, and games don't mix. You can't explain this to them. You tried once, maybe twice, and saw the confusion in their eyes. Saw them try to rationalize it, medicalize it, explain it away. So you stopped trying. You stopped sharing. You stopped expecting anyone to understand. And that isolation, it's not punishment, it's protection. Because what you're becoming, it's fragile right now. It's new. It needs space to develop without interference from people who would doubt it, question it, try to logic it away. This is your path now. Walk it, trust it, become it. They'll never understand, and that's exactly how it should be.